brought my senior deputy with me. He's friend. He's new to the area. Senior deputy Thomas Moore. We'll go calls for service for East area is 1,973. 736 of those were in Rosamond. Of those calls for the East area, 1,349 were citizen initiated, and 555 of the calls in Rosamond were citizen initiated. East area, we totaled 77 arrests for August, and Rosamond had 34 of those. Reports, we wrote 286 reports for the East area and 106 in Rosamond. Had a couple significant incidents out in Rosamond last month. We had a sergeant that got shot at out at 260th Street West. He's okay. Suspect's in custody. We have a couple things coming up in conjunction with the CHP, and since they kind of set these events up, I'll let them talk to them. We also have the Kern County Fair started today? Yesterday. So we have volunteers and deputies working over there. We have a wasteland weekend out in the desert outside of Cal City starting next Tuesday. So we'll have deputies and volunteers working out there. One thing I would like to bring up is we do have the citizens on patrol, the CSU members, and because they were on patrol last month, there's a parolee with a gun that got arrested. They were out there, they saw their eyes and ears, so they let us know. We were able to go and catch the guy. And that's pretty much it. I'll get at the time for things. Any questions?
California Highway Patrol, Lieutenant Williams.
Quick question. You said 1,000 and 700 were in Rosamond?
736 calls for service were in Rosamond.
In 1 month?
In 1 month.
Hi, I'm Lieutenant Williams, California Highway Patrol. I didn't really bring any stats with me. We got a lot of questions about our DUI checkpoints, and so if anybody here wanted to ask any basic questions, I can answer them for you. I know it's always the same place, around the same times. There's some reasons for that, so if anybody wants clarification, I can answer that. But we are hosting a Coffee with a Cop event next Tuesday at Tom's Restaurant at 9 a.m. So the one thing that I make sure I do is I don't just bring our public information officers out there, I grab the officers off the beat. So these are the folks that are actually responding to your calls and helping you. And this is a good opportunity for you to sit down, have some coffee with them and talk to them and ask those questions that you need to ask. So I don't really have any data or anything for you. Our staffing levels are fine. We're right where we need to be. We don't have any all of our fatalities that are hit and runs have all been solved, and we're doing really well out here.
Tuesday at Tom's at what time?
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
And we were nice enough to invite the Sheriff's Department with us. Is there any questions for CHP?
Okay.
Yeah,
Kern County Fire Department, I've been invited to attend. They didn't make it tonight. Hopefully we'll be able to get them to start coming to these meetings. Kern County Supervisor, Mike.
Well, good evening. I'm going to stay seated because I have a few things I want to read off here. First off, I'd like to talk about the press release. This is about a month old now on the Kern County Sheriff's raids of the illegal pot shops in Rosamond and the arrests that were made. I know that John had reported on this, but for those of you who didn't read the news release, Supervisor Scribner wanted me to share it with you all. This is dated August 17th, 2018. Today, the Kern County Sheriff's Office served 4 search warrants related to illegally operating marijuana dispensaries. The search warrants were served at the Plug, the Green Empire 5-gram shop, the Green Mile Collective, and the search warrants resulted in the seizure of over 142 pounds of marijuana, 13,725 grams of marijuana oils and concentrates, 812 packages of edibles, and $25,720 in U.S. currency. The street value of the seized marijuana is approximately $241,519. The oils and concentrates is approximately $549,000, and the edibles is approximately $16,240. I think that that's been rounded up to well over $1 million when it was all totaled up. A firearm was also seized at one of the shops. 6 adults were cited and released for the misdemeanor sections of HS 11359 and the county ordinance there. And then it's got the names of those who were cited and released. And then this is a quote from Supervisor Zach Scrivener. He says, "Rosamond has been invaded by these illegal pot shops in recent years, and the county of Kern has, up until this time, been mired in the slow, frustrating civil court process. Today marks the beginning of a new comprehensive approach where the Kern County Sheriff's Office were able to make arrests and charge the suspects criminally for violating the law. In addition to making arrests, this new approach resulted in the seizure of large amounts of drugs and cash. I am extremely pleased the Sheriff's Department was able to conduct this operation today, bringing swift and effective enforcement action against these illegal marijuana dispensaries, which will produce an immediate improvement in the quality of life in Rosamond," said Supervisor Zach Scrivener. Now, I know that some of those shops have reopened, but they're all going to be illegal after about November of this year. And so they are requesting, the latest information I have on this is it's 6 or 7 of them in Rosamond were requesting an extension to get their paperwork in order, permit process, the state permits, the county permits in order, and there has not been an answer yet from our legal department to their request for an extension. However, there is a ballot measure, there are 2 ballot measures in November where Kern County voters will vote once and for all, hopefully, whether to make marijuana legal or illegal in Kern County. And depending on what happens in November with the vote, that will determine what the county does with enforcement and law enforcement and so forth. I want to thank the sheriff's deputies, Jim, and the others that were there involved in those raids. Zach and I both were down there that day, and it was pretty exciting to be a part of that. So we came in after all the action, though. So there is another notice here related to Public Works that Michelle Burns-Lusich, who's our Special Projects Manager for Public Works and Administration, wanted me to communicate. The Kern County Public Works Department was successful in a federal application for congestion mitigation and air quality improvement program funding for an air quality improvement project in your neighborhood. The purpose of this CMAQ is to support surface transportation projects and other related efforts that reduce vehicle congestion, improve air quality, enhance public health, ensure that disadvantaged communities fully share in the benefits of the program, and provide a broad spectrum of projects to benefit many types of investment of air quality. Bids for the project were opened on July 11th, 2018, and the low bidder was R.C. Becker & Son. On October 21st, 2018, the Kern County Board of Supervisors will execute the contract for construction. Construction is anticipated to begin early September 2018. The work performed consists in general of surfacing unpaved shoulders. It'll take approximately 35 days with an expected completion of November 2018. The contractor's hours of work will typically be Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And the location is 90th Street West from Avenue A to Rosamond Boulevard. And this project was made possible by your gas tax dollars generated by the Road Maintenance and Rehabilitation Act of Senate Bill 1. And if you have any questions, you can contact Michelle Burns-Lusich at 661-862-8861 at Kern County. I'm going to give this to you guys so you have it for your record. And this is a map.
We'll also put it on the Facebook.
Okay, so the main reason that most of you are here tonight is because of the solar project, the Raceway Solar Project that everyone that I've talked to so far is opposed to. And if this is any semblance of how the community feels, because there's a lot more people here tonight than normal for our meetings. And so I'm presuming that most of you are here to oppose that project. I have some talking points on this. Right now, it is in the very earliest stages of this company trying to go in and put this project in. So it hasn't even been presented to the Kern County Board of Supervisors yet. I represent Supervisor Zach Scribner. I'm his field representative, and he's our District 2 supervisor for this area. He cannot comment on this. If he were to comment on it for or against it this time, he would not be able to vote when it comes up before the Board of Supervisors, presuming that it even gets that far. The environmental impact report has not been done yet. So I'm going to give you some talking points from Lorelei Oviet, who is in charge of our planning department. She is in charge of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources, and this is what she gave me to share with you tonight. 3 primary talking points. The Raceway project by sPower is in the early stages of processing. That means that there are only 3 talking points at this point that we could put out there legally from the county's perspective. Number 1, there will be a full environmental impact report to review that has not been released yet. And hearings in front of the Planning Commission and Board of Supervisors, all of that will not happen until 2019. So this is still a ways off before it's even going to be presented to the Planning Commission and the Board of Supervisors. Number 2, no decisions or recommendations have been made about this project. So if you're hearing that the supervisors have approved it, that's not true. They haven't even heard about it yet before their board. The planning department has not approved this yet. Permits have not been issued yet. It is in the very earliest stages of a landowner wanting to put in a solar farm. And so you have a right to oppose this. Zach Scribner, I talk to him regularly. He knows how adamantly the folks are opposing this from his district, because I'm hearing from a lot of you. And so he's very well aware of that, but he cannot say at this point, I won't vote for it or I'm going to vote against it, because then his vote, he would have to recuse himself from the vote when it comes. But he understands this is very, very unpopular with his constituents out here in Rosamond. So again, no decisions or recommendations have been made about this project, as a supervisor has not seen the environmental impact report and all comments. He cannot form an opinion. Number 3, all comments and questions, and this is going to be something you're going to want to write down this information. All comments and questions should be directed to the Planning and Natural Resources Department. So someone put my cell phone number on Facebook. I can't help you if you call my cell phone except to commiserate with you and listen to you and tell you that I can't do anything about it. So please don't call my cell phone, even though my cell phone number is on my business card. So theoretically it is a number that people call me on for my job, but it's also my personal cell phone, and I'm letting you know I can't do anything more than what I'm doing here. So all comments and questions should be directed to the Planning and Natural Resources Department of Kern County. The staff planner, I'm going to give you 2 names that you can contact, telephone calls or emails or letters. The staff planner is Janice Mays, M-A-Y-E-S, or the division chief is Anjanette Simon, and I'll spell it A-N-J-A-N-E-T-T-E-S-I-M-O-N, Anjanette Simon, or Janice, J-A-N-I-C-E, Mays, M-A-Y-E-S. You can send them questions anytime, but the EIR will provide more detailed information to answer their questions or answer the questions that you have. This will not happen until the first quarter of 2019 at the earliest. It's the government. Everything goes slower than everybody thinks. So if they say the first quarter of 2019, it may not be until the second quarter of next year before they even have the environmental impact report completed so that they can answer some of the questions. There are many current and proposed solar projects in the Rosamond Willow Springs area that come in regularly to the county planning department. So you need to make sure that you communicate which one you are opposing. And I believe it's called the Raceway Solar Project is the one that everybody here is against. So make sure you communicate that to them when you contact these folks in Bakersfield. So that's the short version of what I have for tonight, because we don't have a quorum and this is not an agenda item. I really can't probably spend much more time on it. I'm going to be around afterwards. Be happy to talk to you, give my business card. But please, if you, and I'm glad that everybody's involved. Zach Scrivener's glad that everybody's letting their voice be heard, because that's what democracy is all about. This isn't a communist country where somebody comes in and says, we want to put in a solar park, and then it happens come heck or high water no matter what anybody thinks. This is not the way it works in America. So you have a right to voice your opinion. You have a right to protest. You have a right to complain about this. It's going to affect you. And we don't want to deter you from doing this, but we just want you to be directed in who you contact and let you know some of the parameters of where this process is at. There is nothing final. There's nothing approved. There's nothing permitted for this project at this point. Yes, sir.
So when that report is finished, we'll get notified, we'll get another meeting or another, what's the process after that?
Well, again, we don't typically deal with voting on county issues here. We discuss them and then we bring them to the RMAC board's attention, and then we bring them to the Board of Supervisors' attention. So the environmental impact report will be something that will be public record. It'll be something you could probably get on our website, the Kern County website, I would imagine. But you can contact those two individuals whose names I gave you earlier, and they will have that information. They are overseeing this process.
Do you have a phone number for them?
I do not have a phone number.
You've got names, but no phone number.
Yeah, I don't have a phone number for them, but if you go to kerncounty.com, you go to Kern County's website.
Is it .gov or .com?
It's, well, my email is .com. I think some of them are .gov. But if you just go to Kern County, I think it's kerncounty.com, you can look up any of the employees there and get their direct line.
Can I give
And their email addresses.
Can I give that phone number?
Yes.
Okay.
The phone number is 661-868-3660.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joe Allen.
Could you repeat that one more time, please?
That's for the Board of Supervisors. For the planning, it's 661-862-8600.
That really is literally.
661-862-8600.
Yes, sir.
Well, I'm one of the biggest ones against the solar. They snuck one out the back of my house. I live on 100. Never notified about it. Brings in a valley fever. Kill all the wildlife out here. I don't even see sheep herders come up my place anymore. Don't even hear coyotes. I don't even see snakes. I used to see them come down 100 Street down there, catch them. I had a bag there to let them loose on the property. Oh, by the way, my name is Bob Morris. And people that know me know I'm a bishop. That's what I gotta say. And I'm definitely against it. Beautiful racetrack out there, been there 1957, the oldest one in the country, and they want to put a solar there. They want to do an Avenue A. I've been out here over 30 years, almost 30, excuse me. But I can't see the room in our desert. You'd be surprised, the people who live out in the desert don't understand the desert, don't know nothing about it. Look what they did at Quartz Hill, on Elk. All solar across there. Beautiful country. I don't see no deer anymore. I don't see no animal. I don't even hear a coyote anymore. These things have little springs, and that's been about 6 months ago, last one I seen. This is God's country. That's why I moved out here. Excuse me, folks.
Thank you for
Words
sharing.
like this.
Yeah.
I'm highly upset about myself personally. Thank you all.
Thank you for sharing.
That if we do call on you, you have 3 minutes, because we have to try to keep this thing moving.
You mean I still got a minute to go?
Oh, gee, I got it.
I'd like to express our gratitude for allowing us to come here to talk to you. My name is Joellen Alexander, and I'm a retired teacher of teaching 55 years, and I'm a volunteer tutor in our Rosamond Adult Literacy Program, having served people from 11 nations. I've spent my life teaching, helping others. I was a counselor at Rosamond High School, a counselor at heart, and I love your kids, and I love the animals in this valley. I want to thank you all for the opportunity to speak to you, and Michael Clark for Zach Scribner's office to represent you here, and I know that you'll take our concerns to him.
Certainly will.
So before I begin, I'd like to know if you're here in opposition to this destructive project, would you please stand up right now? Thank you very much. Thank you. My letter represents my views alone as I speak, but I know some of the things I say echo what I've heard from you in the community. What happened to the days of freedom where we could choose to have solar in our yards? Has the U.S. now become like the USSR, where Big Brother makes those decisions for us? What happened to the days when solar companies had to knock at our door or meet us at the fair and sell us solar power? Now they bypass the hardworking homeowner, they buy up the land, they go to politicians for approval, and they come in and destroy and devastate the land and our neighborhoods. This project will put a huge, ugly solar field right in my front yard, about 50 feet from my fence. And if it's close to you, would you raise your hand, please? We have 1,854 acres chosen, selected for this project, and there's 340 homes inside that area. But outside that area, there's many homes that are going to be affected by this. And this huge money-making enterprise will not help the local residents, but it will do the following. Here's what it will do. It'll put humans and dogs and cats in danger of valley fever and hantavirus from the huge storms of dust. And valley fever has increased by 70% since 2015, and it's deadly. And Sally will be speaking to that issue tonight. It will decimate the roads. It will make them a quagmire in the rainy season. It will raise the ambient temperature near the solar fields.
We have 3 minutes.
Didn't you tell me I was going to get a little longer than 3 minutes?
Unfortunately, they don't have a quorum tonight. They didn't have four of their directors, so it's
Let me finish the community leader reports, and then we'll get into it.
Yeah, once we finish with the leader reports, then we can resume it.
Okay, you promise you'll let me finish.
How much time do you need,
Because
Joellen? How much time?
I only need a few more minutes.
Okay.
There's a lot of people here that would like to speak too, and are going to be disappointed that
Well,
they can't.
the problem that I have with it is the tone is adversarial. You have no enemies in this room at all, okay? Not even on the council here.
Thank you.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I apologize for that.
And the point is we understand, I mean, we all drive around through these communities as well as through to Tehachapi. We see what's happening. But adopting an adversarial position at this point, when we haven't even got an environmental impact report done yet, you're just influencing us the wrong way that way.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
It's okay. Let us finish the community leader reports, and I'll try to get as many of you guys in that I can, but I want to try to wrap this up early because it's not really anything we can do. We can't vote on anything tonight, so.
We're just looking to be heard.
Yeah,
That's all.
And I understand.
We're not looking for a vote from you tonight. We're just looking to be heard.
All right, let me move to the next item.
Oh, yeah. I guess I will stand. I will. Yeah. I'm all with bad knees, but I'll stand anyway. Real quickly, I actually came here mainly because I was receiving a number of letters from many of you about what's going on, and so I wanted to kind of hear from you and what's going on. We have to wait for the EIR to come out before we can even take a look at what's going to happen overall. As far as the assembly office goes, the first of the week, the governor had 62 bills to sign. He will veto 9 of them, the rest he's going to sign, but I'm going to get into that because I don't have time for you guys. I want to real quickly tell you on a personal level now, this is not the assembly office, this is my level. I drove home every day from my house, my office in Palmdale, to live in Lake Elizabeth. I drive through the solar farms. Now, it used to be acres and acres of poppies and sheep herders and everything. Every single day on my drive home, I drive through an industrial zone. It's no different than driving through Carson or something. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it's just an industrial zone. This is me personally talking. So I agree with you entirely, personally, that this is something that, it's a big desert. As you may notice, the Mojave Desert's a huge place. Well, it's pretty big. I think it's the second largest desert in the world. If you're going to put something, it doesn't have to be up against the houses. There's a whole other desert. That's my personal opinion. So anyway, I'm here to, on behalf, and I'll come back to my assembly group, here on behalf of Senator Tom Lackey to listen to you and get the information from you. So that's it. I'm not going to waste your time. You talk to me.
Gail couldn't be here, but she asked me to relay some info. We have a cleanup. You may not be aware, we clean up Sierra Highway once a month. We haven't had a cleanup in a while. There will be a cleanup this Sunday, September 30th. Check-in will be 7 a.m., beginning cleanup at 8 a.m. And wear appropriate clothing, bring rakes, shovels, 30-gallon trash cans, and water and safety gear will be provided. So that they would need a cross from Sal's there, out there, sign in, and then spend a few hours cleaning up. So that's all I have to say about it.
Rosamond Community Services District. Oh, do you have anything tonight?
Just a couple things. The good news is Sweet Sue will be bringing up the rear of the parade on Saturdays. If you guys don't know who Sweet Sue is, it's the big truck that digs the holes for the Rosamond Community Service District when they go down and dig up pipes or they need to clean out the sewer line. It's a nice big piece of machinery that we're very proud of. We'll be in the parade this year. On the other notes, though, just to reiterate, in August, Kern County accepted Williford Park back. No longer Rosamond Community Service District property. And in July, the board of directors for the Rosamond Community Service District voted to get completely out of the parks business, so we no longer have the purposes and powers to do parks. So that means that anything we want done with the parks in the community falls back on Mr. Mike Clark and Zach Scrivener, or his successor, possibly Mr. Dale Budd. You want to ask them about whether they're going to support perhaps helping the school district maintain a park on the east side of Rosamond. For those who don't know, there are no other parks on the east side of Rosamond, and now that's gone and been allowed to dry up. That shouldn't be, but again, I think that Kern County Kern, we don't want to have any control over that. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Anyone have any questions for Rosamond Foundation? Is anyone here for that? No. Rosamond Chamber of Commerce.
Yes, the only thing I really want to bring up tonight is this Saturday, September 22nd, 10 a.m. is our Armed Forces Appreciation Day parade, which will be on Diamond Street. And our theme this year is not every GI is a Joe, meaning We are honoring women in the military this year. That was our theme. And we have a lot of great dignitaries going to be showing up. We have Shannon Groves going to be our Grand Marshal. Behind her is actually going to be the Edwards Air Force Women's Service Unit. Will be marching in addition to the auxiliary, VFW auxiliary. We'll have veteran women being honored as well. In addition to that, we're going to be having Tom Lackey, Zach Scribner, Sheriff Youngblood, Cynthia Zimmer, and then our lieutenant, he'll be in the parade. Anton, he'll be leading off the parade as he does every year. And that will lead over to the September Fest, which will be at Glendower Park. Those new to town officially, it's Rosamond Park. So people out of town know it as Rosamond Park, the locals know it as Glendower Park. It's the same park. And so there we will be having a car show. We got vendors. We have the Rosamond Got Talent Contest for people 17 and under. And that'll be a lot of good food vendors. We've got some really good food vendors this year. And so it'll be a fun time, and look forward to everybody participating in our Armed Forces Day Parade and September Fest this Saturday, which starts at 11 a.m. at the park itself, the festival. So it'll be the parade, then the festival. So that's all I got. Any questions? September 2nd. 2 days from now.
Whatever 2 days from now is.
Yeah.
What time is the parade?
The parade starts at 10 a.m. on Diamond Street. So it actually goes from Orange, Diamond, Rosen Boulevard, over to Glendower Park.
Now, if I'm out there at 10 a.m. on a Saturday morning, I'll follow you guys out, please.
Yeah, he's been sitting there while Tom's in getting his breakfast.
That's it. Polish in the car.
All right, thank you very much.
Rosamond Youth Football and Cheer. Southern Kern Unified School District. Mario, would you like to say a few words?
What? I just came into the meeting. I'm Margie Paris. I'm part of the Southern Kern Unified School District. I'm on the board. And right now we are in full swing with all the kids going to school. All fall sports are in full swing. And so far the kids are doing really well. I can't give you the scores because I don't have any notes. Other than that, we're just plugging along.
How many students do you have?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask.
We're, well, a little over 3,600, almost 3,640, I think. But that changes daily. And we are constantly looking for qualified teachers because we're people that are not teachers. So, other than that, that's fine.
Is the RMAC going to sponsor Meet the Candidates for the school board election?
We are going to talk about that a little bit later on.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Antelope Valley Citizens for Responsible Use of Water.
See him.
Randy's not here. Edwards Air Force Base.
I did hear this week that it looks like Edwards is going to put on another air show, not this year, but next year. Not a fan of that, but before I retired, I was the chief of community relations for Edwards, and the last air show we had was generated a lot of complaints from the public. I dealt with hundreds of calls and emails because it was the traffic flow was so bad, and they've decided to give it another shot. So you might want to keep your eyes open for that when it happens. Won't be this year, but sometime next year. I'm done.
You're done? Okay.
You're shocked, aren't you?
Yeah, yeah. As a matter of fact.
It's usually longer.
Okay, anyone else as far as community leaders that we may not have recognized? Maybe like Hall Ambulance or someone like that? No? Okay, let's go ahead and move into community announcements. Is Albert Gatton here tonight? No?
He's got the new baby.
Okay. Alrighty. Community announcement would be for anything other than the Raceway Solar Project. I'm going to try to get through all of that, and then we can get into discussions.
There's Albert. Albert just came in back there.
Oh, Albert.
Albert just stepped in.
Ah, okay.
Okay. For the real estate update?
Yeah.
All right. This is Albert Gatton with Keller Williams Antelope Valley, local realtor. We had a good increase in August over July. July we only had 23 homes sold locally here. In August we had 38. And the average sales price went from $240 up to $262, $214. So a lot of the slowing that we saw in July, summer normally slows down a bit due to vacations, kids at school, coming back from school and things like that. So with August, school starting, people are getting in that renewal mode of let's go and look and buy and sell houses. So that's where we're at right now. The market continues to strengthen. And I'm happy to answer anybody's questions on real estate.
What's the prevailing home rate now compared to a year ago?
We're up, let's see, the average sales price this time last year was about $225. So we're up about $40,000 compared to last year.
No, I'm talking about the interest rate.
Oh, interest rate. So interest rate right now, average FHA buyer is going to be right around 4 3/4%.
And what last year?
Last year you were closer to 3 3/4%. So it's gone up about 1%.
Yes, Jack.
There's something I wanted to mention that's pretty important. Just want to make a quick mention. There is new urgent care that's opening up by Arlington. Won't be open to the public for this ribbon cutting, but in November, December, when they open it up, there will be a public ribbon opening ceremony for it. So, but we needed urgent care for a long time. We want to get one. No, it's going to be next to Albertsons.
It's 2 doors down from the old Friday. It's going to be the 80 Furniture store.
I just wanted
Okay. Anyone else have any community announcements?
Did you want to introduce some of the other candidates, like Mr. Bunn or Mr. Washington, or in the House?
I can, but I didn't know Mr. Bunn was here. I'm sorry.
Right here. Dalmas Bunn, I go by Dal. A lot of other things going on here tonight, basically. If you'd like to know a little more about me, I'll leave some brochures on the outback here. I don't mean to take up your time, but I'd like to take up your space in Bakersfield.
What office are you running for?
Board of Supervisors, 2nd District. Thank you for allowing me to introduce myself.
Mr. Washington?
Well, thank you. Hello, everyone. First of all, what an impressive crowd tonight. I see people out here that care about their community. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Greg Washington. I'm a 25-year resident of Rosamond. I bought my first home out here. I'm a 28-year employee of the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California, work in water systems operation as a manager for the past 14 years. Working with the community, distribution systems, water throughout Southern California, give me a lot of experience in dealing with people, dealing with issues, and troubleshooting. I'm looking forward to retiring here in December, and I would like to roll my sleeves up and get back into the community and help out. I spent 5 years as the youth football president for Rosamond Youth Football each year, a safe place for kids to play regardless of their economic condition. So very proud of what I did with the youth football program. Currently working on a program, Greg's After School Adventures, to kind of help out. I see some of the issues that's going on out here in this community, and our youth and the parks and some various things going on. It's very important to the livelihood of this community. So I want to roll my sleeves up and kind of get involved with the youth. I don't look at myself as a politician or anything like that. I just look at myself as someone that has experience at troubleshooting, resolving issues, and I want to help everyone in this room and everyone outside. That's all I have.
What are you running for, Greg?
Oh, I'm sorry, the RMAC.
For RMAC?
Yeah. All right.
Later on in the meeting, we were going to talk about how we were going to structure the meet the candidates thing for next month. And that's why I really didn't want to call on anyone tonight as far as that goes, because it kind of gives you a jump out of the starting gate, I guess you could say.
Thank you, Olaf.
So, anyway, we'll be talking about that, and we're certainly glad to listen in on that. And if you have some suggestions, we'll certainly listen to them. Okay, public comment period. Before we touch on that.
Yeah, we expected. Good crowd.
Yeah.
You don't want to introduce yourself?
So my name is Lisa Shepley, and I grew up here in Rosamond. I left for 18 years right after high school and just came back. I'm also running for RMAC. I'm not a politician, I just want Washington's voice to be heard. And that's my goal. For the community is just for my people's voice, my community's voice to be heard. And I don't feel like our, as a whole community, voice is being heard of Bakersfield. So that is why I'm running for RMAC. So I just want everybody's voice to be heard on the board. And it gives the right people. So my name is Lisa Shepley. I'll be on the ballot. Thank you.
How many vacancies are on RMAC?
We have, for this election, we have 4. We'll also have a 5th one, because that's one of the things we'll be touching on here later on, is we have a director that has resigned.
So then there's 5 vacancies.
This 5th opening will probably be an appointment by the supervisor's office, because it doesn't fall within the election cycle. Okay, quick rundown through the business meeting portion, standing committee reports, planning committee, we have no report tonight. Safety committee, no report tonight. Public health and community welfare committee, do you have anything, Donna?
No. The committee's gone.
Okay, public works committee, optimize roads and other public works projects. We have several things that we're working on, but really not anything to share tonight for you on that. Public relations committee, do you have anything, Dennis?
No, not about that.
Okay, moving down, skipping down to 11D, which is reports. Discuss and take possible action on writing a letter to the Kern County Board of Supervisors regarding addressing an access road to the east side of Rosamond. Dennis, you have something to share on that?
Yeah, when I say we, the chairman, Greg, and Bill and I went over and met with Union Pacific to see about partnering with them concerning a way to get around a blockage at Rosamond Boulevard at the tracks, should that happen. A number of us, has anybody in here ever not been stuck at the tracks for a little bit? Something going on? It affects all of us. There are a number of folks that live over there. All the emergency services, whether they be law enforcement or emergency medical with the ambulance or fire, is on this side. So if something were to happen at that crossing where we would not be allowed across for whatever reason, how do we get around it? How do those folks get emergency services? We've done a lot of checking in on that. The most logical path in our heads is to take advantage of the railroad crossing at Patterson. Union Pacific or any Class 1 railroad in the country will not entertain the idea of adding more at-grade railroad crossings. Every time you have an at-grade railroad crossing, you've got a major possibility of a tragedy right there. Cars and civilians and trains don't mix well together. So the longest train that I think comes over the passes these days is around a mile. It's 2 miles between Rosamond Boulevard and Patterson. So if something were blocking the track here, then taking advantage of that crossing at Patterson seems very like a good idea to us. And there are already crossing arms there, just there, as there would be at Avenue well, A. What's the next one? Was it E? I think there's one E. So we're not talking about adding one, but taking advantage of that one. That road is now used by RCSD to go to the wastewater treatment plant. It would seem like a simple thing to us to improve the dirt road somewhat between Patterson and Orange. That's working north. Orange Avenue is paved. 15th is paved. The 15th from Rosamond Boulevard to Orange is paved, and then it's paved all the way down to 10th/United. So what we're looking to do is improve that dirt road so that vehicles could get across in the event of an emergency. That's a lot tougher than it looks. The railroad right now is disinclined to help with that. We talked with the crossing guy. You know, he says up that department for this region. It's not his issue. We already have a crossing. However, there are some possible grants that may be accessible downstream to help with that effort. So we've met with them. There's been some progress. There's no solution yet, but that's where we are. So from, you know, we have more work to do. When I was the founding chairman of the Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council, and I'm on it myself. My whole intent, and I'm sure it's the same with the others running here, we want to do whatever we can to help make Rosamond a better place to live and work. Does that sound reasonable? A better place to live and work. I don't care if it helps me or not. What I care about is it better for the folks who live here? What can we do to make it better for everybody who lives here? Certainly that access road is a huge part of that. That's our intent. So that's the end of my report.
Alrighty, not doing any new business, but I just do want to note for the record that we do have a resignation letter from Director David Hernandez, and we will take action on that at next month's meeting. Scheduling a candidates forum. We're looking at doing a meeting on the 18th of October. It will not be an RMAC meeting per se. It'll be a meet the candidates meeting. We're going to discuss tonight a little bit about how we want to format it and stuff like that. I prefer that it not be a debate. I would rather it be one where you introduce yourself and you talk a little bit about your background and stuff like that, and then allow a few minutes if some folks want to ask you a question or something like that. But I do not want to encourage or discourage debate, but I want to try to keep it to move through, because if we do get candidates here from the Board of Supervisors, I don't want us to get all bogged down and not be able to get through the evening's activities. Okay.
Is that for RMAC or for school board or community service district? What is that for?
We're looking at RMAC, RCSD, SKUSD, school board. If the Board of Supervisors wants to come down and the candidates for that and want to speak for a little bit, we'll entertain that.
And maybe Measures J&K?
What's that?
Measures J&K? The marijuana initiative, so we entertain on that as well?
I suppose we could, but that's one of those things, it's kind of already set in stone, Olaf. Whichever one gets the most votes, that's the one that's going to go into play. And that's where our actions will take from there. I think it's strictly keeping it to the elected officials would be the best thing to do. Okay. Now, I did say that we'd talk a little bit about the format. Does anyone have any questions or concerns about doing a meet the candidates thing? And is there a particular goal that they would like to see come out of that?
Could you just define the acronym RMAC?
Rosamond Municipal Advisory Council.
If you live north of Avenue A, anywhere out to 170th Street West, you're eligible to eventually run for RMAC. You just want to get your vote for it.
On the wrong side of the street, buddy.
Okay, let us get back into talking about the Raceway Solar
Bill,
project.
can I add one thing real quick before we get into that? That this is on a totally different subject. This is on economic development that's happening within the county. 3 things that Supervisor Scrivener wanted me to make you aware of that are happening in Kern County that are very good for our economy. Number 1, there's a Love's truck stop that's going to be voted on by the Board of Supervisors next month. Everything looks like it's a go for this project. It's going to be in Borons. They're going to provide about 40 new jobs, and they're going to try and hire 50% of those positions from the Boron area. So that is something that we're excited about for economic opportunity that's right here in East Kern. The 2 big announcements are that we have an Amazon distribution center. These were nationally competed for all over the country. These Amazon distribution centers will provide anywhere from 1,000 to 1,400 jobs initially. It's a 2 million square foot facility. It's going to be by the Bakersfield Airport in Kern County, outside of the Bakersfield city limits.
Which Bakersfield Airport, municipal or Meadows?
Meadowbrook, I believe. So that is very good news for the county because it's going to be tailwinds for us economically, aside from oil and solar and wind and all of the other agriculture and all of the other big players in Kern County for tax revenues and job creation. And then also the cosmetic brand L'Oreal is moving their either national distribution or West Coast distribution into Kern County by Tejon Ranch. And that's going to be several hundred good paying jobs there. They're moving, I think, from the Valencia area because the tax basis and the cost of living is less in Kern County. And so all of this is good for the county, for parks, for roads, for the sheriffs, fire, for all of the county budget. This is going to improve the conditions, and hopefully it's going to be the first of others who will come into Kern County because we're open for business. And obviously if Amazon chose to come into Bakersfield, that's a pretty good indicator that things are on the right track economically for Kern County. So I just wanted to share that.
So when is Amazon scheduled to build up there and finish their warehouse?
It's just in the early stages, probably a couple of years. Yeah, probably a couple of years.
I'm going to turn the floor back over to you to finish your presentation. You're 2 minutes.
My tone has to do with not being adversarial with you, but I've been talking to my neighbors and residents for 3 weeks, and I'm hearing distress from them regarding this. So that's where that tone comes from. I'm distressed because you're distressed. I started to say that as our friend over here said, this solar project will chase away all the wildlife. We know that. It'll chase away our kit foxes, our desert tortoises, our burrowing owls, which are all endangered. It'll also chase away the quail, the doves, the golden eagles, the hawks, the roadrunners, and the other native birds. And I'm a bird lover. I feed those birds. They'll take out the Joshua trees. There's a 400-year-old Joshua tree in the field in front of my house, and it's been saved by the farmers. There's stanchions around it. I don't want to see that go. According to my realtor, it will depress my property anywhere from $30,000 to $40,000. And that's a huge amount. And I've talked to others here, their nest egg is in their house. And if they lose that much money trying to sell their house, how tragic that would be. Yesterday I went to the meeting at Antelope Acres, and there was a man there from S Solar to represent the company, and we had pretty much an open forum. And unfortunately, even though he's the director that was assigned to come, he couldn't answer most of our complicated questions, and it was most frustrating. So you're not the adversary, but he is right now, and we're really upset with him. It's obvious that he and his company care only about huge amounts of money that would be generated to them. And in 17 hours of going door to door, I've heard many sad stories. I have some personal distress. And I could cry over these stories. I went to another home, and the husband has had 5 surgeries. 5 surgeries. And the wife looked at me and said, "What am I going to do about this? I have a husband to care for." And Amy, I've been praying for you. I'm concerned about my neighbor directly across my field. My neighbor, when she got the message about this solar project, she had a stroke with the paramedics and the fire department, full blown. And I felt so bad for this woman, I could have cried. She said to me, "I can't give you my phone number and I can't give you my email. I can't remember what they are." She's under direct doctor's care for this. I'm concerned about the people who have scrimped and saved their whole life to move out, to get away from Big Brother. And now what's going to happen to those people? And many of those people have not been notified. The notification only came to people within 1,000 feet of the actual process. And there's many people downwind. How many of you are from 60th, or the other side of 60th, where you're gonna be getting the wind? I feel badly for those neighbors that didn't get this notice. So I've been going door to door. I've spent over 17 hours going door to door, and I have trouble getting to the homes because there's a big fence and a big dog between me and the front door. And I got in the gate in one house the other day, and I looked around, there was no dog, and I got up to the front porch, and this little dog turned around and just charged me on the porch, and I screamed, you know, and I put my clipboard out, and the man came out, thankfully. But it's this is dangerous work.
Well, you mean killer?
Yeah. Actually, I went to Killer's house one day, and Killer came out. Killer was this big, but thankfully I didn't get my ankles bitten. So we're here not to be your adversary. We need your support. We are here to beg you for your support. We need you to stand with us against this invasive, destructive project that is going to turn our neighborhood upside down. As a Christian and as a daily Bible reader, I'm aware that the Bible says in Romans 13:1, every person is to be in subjection to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except from God, and those which exist are established by God. Did you know that you're in this position of responsibility because God put you here? That's true. And maybe you're in this position for such a time as this, as Esther was. In 1 Timothy 2, I read, "I urge then, first of all, that petitions, prayers, intercession, and thanksgiving be made for all people, for kings and all those in authority, that we may live peaceful and quiet lives in all godliness and holiness. I pray And I truly believe that only God can stop this project. But as brothers and sisters, as neighbors, as friends, we can work together to stop this project, and I believe it can be done. I believe it can be done. So I urge you, my fellow neighbors, my friends, my new friends, first of all, I urge you to pray. I pray. I urge you to write. The letters are so important. I urge you to make phone calls. And I urge you to come back to the meetings again. And I thank you very much. And I'm sorry about my attitude. I just came from that meeting at Antelope Acres yesterday where the attitude was, we're coming and you can't do anything about it. And the attitude in Bakersfield with Anjanette Simon, by the way, when she received our petitions, and 28 people, we weren't organized, 28 people took off work during their work time at 1:30 in the afternoon to go to that meeting. We handed in the petitions, and the comment was, anybody will sign anything to get you off their front porch. That was the attitude. And we're just regular folks. We're just regular folks. We just want our peace and quiet. We want to be left alone. And we want them to take their rotten project, their destructive project, and put it out where there's no people. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. And Sally has something to share.
Okay, before Sally speaks, let me touch on a couple of things that I have found in my dealings with the Board of Supervisors, both as a private citizen as well as being an RMAC here. Your participation in the process is very important, whether it's a planning committee meeting in Bakersfield or Board of Supervisors meeting in Bakersfield. The numbers count. If all of you folks that came out here tonight and all the other residents from these areas there go to these meetings when they come up on the agenda and make your presence felt, it will have a far greater impact than this board itself writing a letter for you. You can turn projects with just the sheer presence of people, because each of you gets to go up to the podium there and speak for a few minutes. And so they'll get the point. If they don't notice it by the muster that they take on the number of people that are there, they will by what you say. Now, you mentioned the petition. That was the other thing I was going to try to emphasize to you. A petition needs to be all of those people in that immediate affected area, number one. The second of those are the people that are on the periphery of that. Because everyone in Rosamond, everyone in Antelope Valley Acres, and other little areas like that, even Willow Springs, are going to be affected by the solar fields. So you need to get all of those names. Having 38 names or 40 names, great, but I would suggest you get 1,000 names if you could.
Actually, Mr. Parkman, we turned in almost 300 names. That was over a month ago, and the reaction was disappointing, to say the least, but we're not going to quit.
It's still very early in the cycle.
Joellen, if you want to get me a list of those names, a copy of it, I'll get it to Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Hi, my name is Sally Phillips, and I'm retired, kind of, after about 60 years in education, teacher, counselor, etc., coach. And moved out here 28 years ago, built a house, which unfortunately is about what we said before, which the solar will hit us so close to us. As an older person, although I hate to admit it, but I'm at that point, I worry about my friends and the neighbors that I've met that are my age that really cannot move. We would lose too much, and I did some research today just on the valley fever that I think I have some extra copies for those who want it, and I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, but there are certain things that I don't think most people know, that there is now an institute being formed up in Bakersfield that was spearheaded by our state senator Gene Fuller, and it will be open in 2019 strictly for valley fever. Valley fever since 2015 has gone up 70%, 9 deaths in Kern County. And now we're looking at 1,854 acres, 1.4 million solar panels, and all of the ground that will be dug up, freeing these spores. I'm not going to go through symptoms, they're pretty horrible, but one of the things that impressed me is that I taught at the university for many years, and one of my students died of valley fever. He was Hispanic, and I thought it was just Hispanics that were more susceptible. But in reading this today, it let me know that diabetics, of course, age-wise, African Americans, Indians, Filipinos, there's at least 5 races who are susceptible because something in their own makeup that makes them very susceptible. We had a Korean friend living down here. She made it, but she contracted valley fever down here.
Here in Rosamond.
Right. 6 to 9 months is the recovery time. It can go into meningitis, and of course it can lead to death. And so that bothers me when we can't leave the places that we're in, yet we're going to be subject to all of this valley fever. And the fact that Kern County is seeing a rise in it makes me wonder, number one, has there been any research done? No. The solar panels are too new, and so those are my concerns. We're subjecting ourselves and our neighbors to things that people don't know what's going to happen. Anyway, my 3 minutes up, so I honor that.
Yes, ma'am.
My new friend Joanne has been praying for me. As she said, my husband has had several surgeries since February. Heart, carotid artery, a Zinger's diverticulum, which is a pouch in his throat, and now shoulder surgery just a month ago. He has emphysema, and he has heart disease. I live on 82nd Street and Rosamond Boulevard, and if those things come around my house like they're planning on doing, I have nowhere to go. And it could kill my husband, which would kill me. This is the first meeting I've been to, but I'm going to tell you what. I will help Joanne pass this information around, because I don't like to see Rosamond turn into this. I've been here since 1991. Not a long-term person, but I love it here. I love the quiet. I love watching the coyotes run through my yard. My cats don't like them, but I love to hear them at night when they howl. And it's going to be destructive to our area. They can build it out farther. And if they destroy the poppy fields, that's another devastating thing, I think, because that is what we have here. Our poppy festival, it's part of our culture here. And new people that have come here, it's going to ruin it for them. They're going to say, oh, we're moving where there's poppies, and no, there won't be. There'll be just fields of glass. That's all there'll be. Thank you.
See a lot of changes occurring. But I want to bring up that I'm passing around these flyers. There is a group. You can approach them on Facebook. There's some more flyers here. I can't get this out. This group is trying to educate everybody in our community that will be affected by this. And even though I don't live out there, I'm very concerned about valley fever. So we are actually going to do fact finding. I actually went to a lecture on this, and let me tell you, if you're within 500 miles of those fields and they dig it up, you're susceptible to that fungus for valley fever. So we are going to get the facts about all these things here. We want you all to get educated. So you can go to Facebook, ask to be a member of this group, and we're going to educate you. And when we are going to Bakersfield and write our letter and show up, we are going to be really well educated about what's going on. Animals, environment, fevers, the whole thing. So this is our chance to actually come together and get all this information and go up there and be educated and present our case why this is not required here. Okay? So please follow up on that. There's still some flyers over here. And Joe Kingott and Loomis and Curtis are working this. They were going to be here tonight, but they had long-term plans, so they asked me to spread these around for you guys. Okay?
Hello everybody, my name is Milo. On a large part of this picture, and the timekeeper, tell me to sit down and shut up after 1 minute, please. The large part is currently California is dumping electricity to Arizona. You drive through Tehachapi, you go through out near Palm Springs. Half those windmills are turned not to generate. They're working, but can't use the electricity because it's getting sold to Arizona at a dump price, 7 cents. Costs us 9 cents to generate it. The whole purpose of this field really is county gets money and the developer gets money and everybody else gets. On a minor level, I'm a cancer patient. I'm going to be one until it finally gets me. I'm 50 feet from this field. I'm a toast. I'm toast because all that valley fever, I don't have like, I'll be sick for 9 months. I'm like, so, you know, I'm a toast. Thank you. Oh, and a minor thing, Sam?
Yes.
I went to Antelope Acres a few months ago, and the nice lady from the county, who in all of her brilliance said, well, if you've lived here 5 or 10 years, you're immune from valley fever. You guys need to educate the county board of supervisor people because their head is not in sunlight. Thank you.
My name is Kimberly Disbrow. I live on 80th and A with my husband Jim. He's recently retired from NASA. We've been in the valley since 1980. We moved there 20 years ago to enjoy the rural lifestyle and share that with our neighbors who also enjoy it as well. And my husband's retired. I'm going to retire in 9 years from my teaching position. We don't have any intentions of moving. This is our nest egg. And so we have nowhere to go, and we don't want to live in an industrial zone. So I'm sure we are echoing a lot of your concerns. And I just want the wildlife that I've been enjoying. We watch it out our window in our yard. Who doesn't? You know, and I just want to enjoy living a peaceful lifestyle that I purchased. And I'm going to pay it off in 6 years. I don't want to not have that as I get older with my husband. I want to be healthy.
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, Ola. I mean, I'm
already.
Oh,
yeah, I've been
Kin photo.
Ever. Anyway, I had a question. How did they get their environmental impact passed?
It's not.
They haven't.
They've only announced Mario that it started.
I'm wondering how the big solar field out on 140th to 170th got passed.
And
Because
from 140th to 110th.
back in the late 80s, a racetrack was being proposed to be built on the opposite side of, right off of 130, that, which really, you got cars running around and a parking area, that was it. They actually stopped it because it did not pass the environmental impact. Now, solar fields impact the ground
so much more, and all the animals that live in that area will be in everybody else's yards because they have nowhere else to go. So you will be infested with squirrels, rats, mice, snakes. You name it, they're going to be. Since the solar fields have come in, I have the auto repair business, and we do so much rodent repair on vehicles since they came in. It's probably tripled. So tell me it doesn't cause an environmental impact to the people and everybody around. Being on the school board, I am really worried about our kids. All the dust that flies out there, the valley fever is really a big concern, and especially for the kids, because they are more susceptible than the adults are. The buses have to run where all that is. Those solar fields kill all the ground cover. There's no way any ground cover is going to grow without any sand. So now you're going to have more dust. I mean, we have enough problem with dust around here without having all the, I mean, in the last 5 years, look how bad the dust has been around here. And it all comes from way out west where they've killed off all the vegetation to put in solar fields. Even the wild vegetation has gotten killed by that, not just the farms and stuff. So I really want to know how they get past the environmental impact that they cause, and yet they get put up money.
I can't answer the question. I don't work on the environmental impact reports. All I can tell you is the talking points I gave you earlier from the planning department. So, but this is a great place to air your grievances. That's why everybody's here, and I understand what you're saying.
If you have
I've already signed it.
I'll pass it around.
But yeah, it just that means if we have a lot of money, we can just stop and buy up that land. I mean, is that what it's going to take?
I don't think
or
so.
I don't
think that's what it's going to take. I think this is what it's going to take, to be honest. So, just letting your voice be heard and standing up against it.
Thank you.
Can I answer Mario's question? Mario, you know where I live at.
Yeah.
They stuck that solar behind me.
Yeah.
I have not seen no animals on my property except the ones I've been feeding since they're baby, the feed food, the rabbits, the squirrels. None of them out there. I haven't even seen a snake on that road.
Really?
And you know me, I got the bag, my trunk, pick it up, I leave my cage snakes over on my property. Sit around, throw everything in, throw it on. It's gonna be like Fort Sill. All that hillside, everything on it. We have nothing there, Mario.
It's all gone.
Nothing. I feel sorry for my grandkids and great grandkids.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah. You know, for 4 years out at the base, I was the environmental public affairs guy. Megan knows that. I got to tell you, this is exciting to me. There's nothing like a controversial topic to bring folks out like you're doing tonight and become a part of the process. But you gotta stick with it. Just coming to one meeting one time and think, well, I've done my bit, is just not gonna be enough. The environmental impact report that they're putting together is part of what they call the CEQA process, California Environmental Quality Act. If you go online, look up the CEQA process, and it explains the milestones and explains how that whole thing works. And the whole purpose of that is to harvest up these concerns and get the involvement of the folks that are impacted or perceive themselves to be impacted. It doesn't matter if you are not, it's just whether you perceive you are is far more crucial. You gotta not just hope to come to one meeting and have somebody else do it. We need to all keep going to every meeting we can and keep bringing this up. It takes a while to answer all the questions and get all the documents and do all the studies that have to be done to put that process together. It adds a couple of $1 million to the cost of a project like this to do it. But it's there for a reason. It's there to get this kind of feedback. I am tickled to death that I'm sorry as can be that this came up, and that so many folks are so adversely impacted. You know, like with you and your husband. On the other hand, the yin and the yang. Look at what it's doing. now learning how this process works and can be a vital part of it. I can't tell you enough how important it is. And yeah, you can stop it. Your input does matter. You got to not quit with this, okay? Fair enough?
Is there someone else back there?
Yeah, my name is David Adams. Mario the Land. Last time we were out at Animal Acres, we talked to Ryan, on the solar company. Well, his land's ADAC. They're leasing it. So ADAC can double dip. They get the water from the bottom and they can lease the property.
Well, the problem with that land is it's got too much clay, so it gets bought.
Right, they bought land, they wouldn't percolate, so they can't, water make it, so now they put solar on it. So that's why a lot of the land is ADAC.
I have cards of the man that's the director. His name is Ryan, and it's sPower. So I pulled a few cards from yesterday. If somebody wants to.
Tim?
Hello everybody, I'm Tim Blakeman with Antelope Valley Dining Collective and the Kern Medical Cannabis Association. I have an update on the extensions. They finished the meetings today on those. Looks like everyone that was legal got a 6-month extension.
Okay.
As far as the illegal collectives being shut down and staying down, we really have to get a hold of the property owners to help keep them shut down. I don't know if you guys can help me with that. There has to be cease and desist letters to do that. But that's what we're working on too. We're also, us legal side is working on trying to help keep the illegal out.
How many legal ones are
there? They did 4. They shut down 4, and then there's 5 legal ones. As far as everything I've been talking to you guys about, it finally made it to measure level. The one that we're promoting that I've been speaking to you on is Measure J. So if you need any information about Measure J, I got that as well. Economically, it will provide nearly $40 million to Kern County. As far as jobs, it'll provide nearly 9,000 jobs to Kern County. And that's just in addition to what it does for patients. I'm sure you've all heard stories how it helps patients with cancer and other ailments. So there are both benefits to the patient and benefits to the communities and the county. The money is slated to go to police, fire, and social services. I believe that's probably the general fund or something. You probably know more about that than I do. But that's where we're at right now. There's Measure J on the ballot, which is a medical-only initiative. That's ours. And then there's one called Measure K that is both medical and recreational. We do not recommend that. Even though it does say it will pull collectives out of your community, it puts them on private property and it opens up the recreational market in your neighborhoods. So we highly don't recommend that one. Not because we don't like it, but because we think it's a medicine and not a beer at your party. So if anyone has any questions, I come to these meetings often. Just like they said with your process to stop the solar farms, I've been through that process already, trying to legalize cannabis. And it's like they said, you have to be steadfast, you have to be firm, and you can't just show up in a crowd like this to one meeting. This crowd has to be at every meeting about it. It's very difficult. If you guys are going to come together, you got to stay together. Even if it's something that people think is illegal, like cannabis, I'm doing it. It can be done. Why can't we save your guys' homes from these solar farms? It's just about coming together. Amen. That's all I got.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, with that, I'm going to go ahead and
I got something real quick. My name is Robert Roca. I'm a building inspector from the Division of the State Architect. We do the construction of schools throughout California. We're in 40 districts right now. I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you're driving, there's tons of solar in the parking lots and of the school districts. And at the same time, we're doing lunch shelters.